Sure, if you don't mind.
No.
That'd be perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I really like it. I like it a lot. I use their Pro Max. Yeah. Yeah, try some of that. It's super simple. So, I mean, it's just a single solution. All you got to do is boil it up. So, yep. You don't have to worry about picking and all that other stuff. Yep. You don't have to salt them. Yep.
What do you use for that?
It's Pro One's Pro Ones. Yep. I really like it. Nope, you don't have to. You can do like a salt brown. Just wash it. Salt water.
Before she gets started.
That's kind of how protein is of salt.
Right, yeah, it's similar to protein in that way, but it gives you a lot wider cage, a lot nicer. It's not.
Because they say it's more pliable too.
Yeah, it feels a lot more like a wet hash.
Are you putting the finishing oil on this?
Yeah, the oil is so.
Literally hashed food. It even washed. Oh yeah, it's still hashed. What do you use for oil?
It's the Pro Max oil that they sell with it.
They're looking for somebody.
No.
Doing photograph creation, that is.
You just roll it up and get some of that moisture out. So I don't like it to be really wet when I'm out hot.
We basically
Like you said, take pictures of all
2 eyes.
something you can tell us the program as we gather pictures into the program, that's like angles. I mean, we gotta make sure everything lines up, all checkered. Do a lot of editing. It's nice.
And then I just pull this one over the top of the hinge, and a little door in front of it.
But
Sort of stack of that.
something
Just
handy, something
trays to catch the.
I would have liked to have brought something other than an upright mount, but this is the only decent looking deer I have left from all the other ones. They actually young season deer, they're all tick bit of the. So this one was half of it. So first thing I like to do is do my ears. So. And I always like to pre-sculpt my earbuds. It's easier for me than trying to put it in through the skin, or I used to do it out of epoxy too, and that works fine too, but I've just been doing it like this lately. So I'm just gonna try and cut these off. This clay's still pretty mushy, so I'm sure I'm gonna distort these a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. I can always fix it with the skin. So just like that, I'll pop it off. And I'll have something that I can put in my skin there. No, these ones are OTS. These are large ear liners. So I just cut it just about like that. It's a little piece that pops off like that. So before I get my ears mounted in my skin, I want to make sure that I get these ears nice and dry. So I'm going to put some lacquer on them and try and wipe them down a little bit, and then I'm going to dry them off with a hair dryer. Well, the lacquer is going to help get any oils and grease and stuff off, so left on the skin. And drying it gets some of that moisture out, so.
Piece of string. Knife. Knife.
And the lacquering might not be necessary, but I found it's worked pretty good. The backside can be a little bit more damp than this, but I really like the inside of the ear to be fairly dry. That way when you touch it and you squeeze it, there's no water coming out of it. So now if this was a competition deer, I would take a Dremel and I would cut in that little hole that they got on their ear there, that little pointed looking thing. I cut that in with the Dremel. That way you've got that little hair pattern that goes in there. It's usually at the bottom of your skin there. That's what goes in there. Yeah, that's fine. So, and also I would make sure I rebuild up those leaders inside of the ear. So those little leaders are where your hair patterns come off of on the inside of the ear. So you just want to make sure you rebuild those up so you don't have to harsh shrink them. But on custom for deer, it's just like it is, just like this. And if I got splits in the ear like this, I don't worry about sewing them up. I'm just going to let the glue push back together. Just let that skin up, skin to skin, so the line, just fine. Just brush a little bit of that excess glue out once it dries. And so this is Pro 1. I like to use Pro 1 for the whole thing. It works really good on your ears too. I just try to put kind of a thin coat on the inside. Don't go crazy hairs with it or nothing. Make sure I got it everywhere. And as far as kind of giving the ears a little bit of color, this is just red flocking. I like to sprinkle this on the inside of the ears. When they dry, usually this will show through fairly decent. It kind of helps give you a better paint job when you do your finish work. Just adds a little bit of depth to it. So I just put it in like a pepper shaker. And it's just real fine flocking. And then I'll kind of mix it in, and that's going to give you a little bit of like a mottled look on the inside. A lot of times that's going to show through your skin when it dries. And it usually does show through pretty red, but by the time you paint like your flesh tones over it, it kind of adds a little bit of that mottled look under your paint work. And it won't look so bright. But I do that on all my competition pieces too. Basically, a lot of the things that I'm doing on commercial gear, I also do on my competition gear. I'm just spending a lot more time doing it and making sure my anatomy is a little bit better. Customer gear, I just kind of rough things in. I always start by lining up the tip of the ear and working my edges in. Flip it over and get that inside lined up. I usually push kind of like that bottom edge in first and then roll the top around. That way I'm not getting like a bunch of skin bunched up right there in that corner. And on that competition piece, you want to make sure that you get that little swirl hair pattern to fall right in that little depression on that line. But like I said, I don't worry about cutting that in on customer gear. I just kind of lay it over top of that spot. And it'll still look all right. Short-haired deer, you probably want to go ahead and put it in its place just because it almost always shows on the short-haired deer. Long-haired deer, you really can't see it, so it's not that big of a deal. And And I like to groom things as I go. Doesn't have to be crazy perfect, remember, it just helps me to know that I got things close. That would be rough to use kind of. On the backside, I don't worry about as much because when I go to tap the skin up around my antlers and all that stuff, I'm going to be moving the skin on the back, so I just kind of brush it down for now. I'm sure all this is going to get moved quite a bit, so this one might rough. You guys can look at that if you want. There's not a whole lot. That little dot that you were. So in the skin, it kind of hides under there. You see that little swirl right there? That little depression right there? It falls right in that little pocket.
Right.
So when you, that little thing right there,
You know what she's talking
you
about.
almost always cut it.
It's like a little funnel.
Ears and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that little
if
chunk
there's a
of
little
skin
hole
goes right
there,
down in that
and
pocket,
it's shaped
and that's
like a
that
funnel.
little hair.
So if you stick it down into that
You'll see
depression,
it quite a bit easier on my
It'll make
short
that
hair, but your longer
do
hair
what
here
it's
and there, you
supposed
can
to.
kind of brush it over. and
that's what
so-
she's talking about.
But that's where it's at.
You see that earline? Just a second. Show her that little depression.
Just
See
a
that
little bit.
little depression right there? So if you lay that in there, it shows hair patterns going all different directions. Everybody can do everything else. That's one of the little details that will take me.
What's that?
So when you shoot the deer,
Like
you
right
need to pick it apart.
where it falls in there.
And look at, like that little thick pebble, you can lift up the hair and look at it. You'll see that it has a shape.
See where it's sitting right in there, the little swirl.
Little bitty details, because you've got the mains, everything. When you go out, you get into the small details. It's not one small detail, it's 100 of them all come together and do it. You just have to pick it apart and as soon as you shoot that in, and you find it, just look at it. I want you to sometimes, don't look at just the eye. Cut it back and look at the front half of the eye. Picture in your mind. Sometimes I'll take a sheet of paper, like when I'm looking at a piece of reference. I will block everything but the carbuncle. So I'm looking at just a little triangle instead of the whole thing. Break it down and look at it. You'll see a lot of different things, like inside the nose. It's got so many
No,
contours and
not
shapes
worried about it
inside
at all. I
the
got
nose.
them
It's
on the
nuts.
inside or the edges. I just make sure that I pinch it together best I can, and then that's part of my finish work. So, like on your edges, you really don't got to worry about it at all. As long as you pinch that skin back together, it basically glues itself back shut.
Unless it's a total blow.
Yeah, if it's a total blowout, those are a little bit more routine, but you can still do it the same way. You just gotta make sure that it doesn't dry and separate. You're seeing the edge of your line, you want to make sure that skin is glued shut.
When you say punch together, what do you mean?
So like on this one, no, like on this one, if you have that hole, I don't remember where it's at now, because I pushed it together already. You had a hole over here somewhere. See how that liner's poking through? You just want to work it all the way to the very edge, pinch your skin where it's skin to skin on your liner. So like if I pull his hair back, you can't really see the liner. But you don't have to floppy edge either, so you want to make sure it's like right there on that very edge. Because that glue's strong enough to hold that skin back.
If the ear liner fits properly.
Yeah, if it fits good. So I always test fit my liners too before
Yep.
I decide which liners I'm going to use. Most of the time I can look at them and tell, like this dude's obviously large, but even still I'll test fit them in there and make sure. Sometimes it's large, so you got to trim it down. So, or it's somewhere in between, you got to make it work. But I always test fit my liners ahead of time. And you'll know if you got a liner that's too big for your skin, because you're going to want to drum away, even with nothing in it. So, yeah, always test fit your liners. it matters if you work with stuff into the glue or not. It just makes me feel better about it, so that's what I do. I feel like if I don't work it down into the glue, it's not going to stick or something, but it probably will. I always keep a wet rag on too when I'm doing this, because I always get it all over my hands. Try to keep it out of here.
Do that too. Keep your hands clean. Yep.
Work it from tip right there, work my edges over. Start pushing out front. Like I said, I like to work that bottom edge down first. Get that rolled around in there and roll the top. There's like a little spot where it can get bunched up. Work on that second. This is a little bit more wet than I like to work with the cake too. I like to let my cake a little bit more dry than this. For me, I would definitely do
Do you feel like that preference, or do you feel like it helps?
I feel like for me that I mount better a bit more dry, but it gets, I mean, I know a lot of people that mount the cake really wet, so, I mean, it is kind of just a preference thing, but I have my best results if I have it a little bit more dry. I just like to pull more of that moisture out of the skin. So I got both those roughed in. If anybody wants to look at them, you're welcome to. I'm going to glue up the forms.
You find that you get less drumming if the cape is drier to start with?
I feel like
I do too, because I feel that it's already left. The shrinkage is
Yep.
already in it
Yep.
before you put it on the form.
Yeah, you get more of an idea of what your skin's actually going to be like as it
Right.
starts to dry too, where if it's super wet and you're mounting it,
They'll
you're going to
stretch
see
a
a
ton.
lot of moisture leave that thing over the next few days. So, yeah.
So check them out.
When do you wash them?
What's that?
When do you wash them?
Wash the cake in. So I do like a mixture of, it's usually pretty warm, almost hot water, and then I'll put like a little bit of Addazan in. You know what that is?
Yep, Addazan, yep.
Addazan.
Good stuff, yeah. It has a little bit more sudsing
Yeah, it's
than
pretty
what is.
soapy.
Yep,
So I'll mix some of that in there, just a cap full of that, and I usually put in a cap full of degreaser too for Pro
Yep.
One. And I'll do those two, wash it around in there really good, skin side and hair side, and then rinse it, and then pull it out, put it in towels.
Submerge it in water.
Yep, just
Yep.
like make a little bath for it,
right.
gallons or something like
I do the
that.
same thing. Yep.
Yep,
You're pretty much all pro as far as the
yeah,
labels.
yep. That's what I like anyways, so I haven't really tried a whole lot of other cans or anything like that, so I can't really say, you know, but that's what I like.
So you need the warm water, as explained to me, to activate the detergent. So you don't want to, you can use it in cold water, but it's not going to suds as much.
And it limbers up the skin a little bit more. It seems like it relaxes the skin better if you're using warm water. So this form, the guy wanted an offset, and I didn't have one. I had this laying around, so we altered this to be an offset. So I'm just going to kind of play up any highs and lows I got right here. We basically just cut the backboard off of it, put a wedge in, and made it shift a little bit to where it's angled off the wall a little bit more than it was. So I'm just cleaning up that low spot from the foam. This deer was one of those goofy, big, giant bodied deer. Had an 8.5 inch eye to nose.
Holy crap.
I didn't make an 8.5, so I went more like 7 3/4 because I felt like it was going to look stupid.
spacer more on this side?
Yep, just stuck a wedge in there. Cut the backboard off, stuck a wedge in there to kick the form out from the backboard and foamed it all in. Yeah, but this deer had like a 28-inch neck here, 8.5-inch item nose. He's a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
But
Good one to get out of the herd.
yeah, it was the guy's first deer.
Trying to slip by all the big hunters.
Yeah.
Was that a 75-24 for him?
I don't know the upright numbers as much. Because I'm out all
21, 75, 21.
I'm out mostly on all semi-sneaks. That's what everybody picks out. Wall pedestals and semi-sneaks, that's about all I'm out.
I like the semi-uprights.
I like the semi-upright.
Yeah.
Has a
The
good
400 series.
Yep. I glue up the whole thing except for the face. I like to have my cape hanging down where I can do all my clay work with the skin on there. And I just have the face hanging down below the head, and then I'll pull it up after I do all my clay work.
What are the holes in the neck from?
That way you don't ruin it. when you slide the
We
cape.
stuck it on spikes.
Oh,
Yeah, to work on the back there.
gotcha.
What was your question?
I actually
holes
forgot
in the
about
neck?
those till you said that. I should
Oh.
probably put some clay in those. Guess I would have seen it when I got to the front.
They weren't going really.
Yeah, we tend to get a lot of big body deer in, so I'm used to working on big body deer.
Yeah.
That's why I like having the face hanging off. I do a lot of clay work on our deer. 'Cause none of them ever fit. Something about our area, we got giant body deer.
Well, they probably have some age to them.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem in
Well, I don't know, we
Michigan.
get 3-year-olds that'll have necks this big. A lot. So,
We don't get many 3 years.
So we don't hear
this buck was actually probably pretty old. I don't know how old, but definitely mature buck. But we get a lot of 3-year-olds that'll have necks this size.
Yep.
Where are you from?
Indiana,
But not a-
southeastern.
Not an 8 1/4 eye to nose though. That's freakishly big, isn't it? Even
Yeah.
for down there.
Yeah, I don't know where the heck that came from,
Yeah.
but goofy. That's why I didn't make it the 8.5 inches eye to nose, because it would have looked stupid. So I'll
You're gonna
cheat
wedge.
it.
You're gonna wedge his head a little bit.
I'll
Then?
cheat it in other ways.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause his nose would have been out here. So.
All right.
I made it a little longer. That's another thing too, is I always test fit my skins too. Even if I know for sure that they're gonna fit, like my measurement, I always test fit it because I only ever take one measurement on my capes. I don't measure the face or anything like that. I take the mid-neck measurement and I order all my forms based off of that. Because if it fits the largest part of the neck, it's gonna fit everywhere else, and if I gotta alter the face, I gotta alter the face. It doesn't bother me at all. So I don't bother with measuring this measurement, that measurement, and this measurement. I just do the one down here, the swell measurement. So if you flip through your catalog and whatever the biggest measurement they have listed on it is, that's what I order my cape based on.
And is that just because you're doing so many, the face measurement doesn't matter so much for you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather it fit in the neck and then have to alter the head or something. Because a lot of our deer too are super narrow on their skulls. So like, I could fit 3 fingers in between their antler burrs. That's how narrow their skull is. So I'm almost always altering their head in one way or another. So I don't care so much about the head. I'll make it work. I'm just worried about the neck fitting. Trash can somewhere?
Let me get you a shirt on. It is.
It don't matter.
You're weird, aren't you? You're weird, aren't you? No. Oh my God. You ever hear anything from Chris Carls anymore? I haven't seen him or heard from him in a long time. Yeah, I shook his hand, but that was it.
Also, if you need to get a little extra stretch out of your cape or something, you can just take and punch on it, and that'll break those fibers loose a little bit. You don't have to sit there and tug on it or nothing. It breaks those loose to where you don't gotta sit there and tug and pull on everything. That's another reason I like my earbuds to be a little bit more set up too, because when I'm doing this part, it smashes this up here, what I got left. So usually when those are a little bit more firmed up, that doesn't happen. My stand got loose when we were driving apparently. Tighten it up more. Usually gotta hit it with a hammer.
Reverse hair pattern. Reverse hair. Going down instead of coming out to the point.
It just needs to be combed. It'll come back down.
Honestly, this probably could have went on a slightly bigger form, but it was a pretty comfortable fit. Whenever I'm mounted upright or something, I like to have it a little bit looser because those are the ones that are paying the butt to taxi around.
Or hard turn.
Yeah, or a hard turn. Because usually, like when I do measure my skins, I'm measuring them all raw. I'm not measuring them tan, so I'm ordering off of raw measurements, and I can always get the same size back out of it. So.
You Bondo for your skull plate.
Yep, that's Bondo. So I like to set them in there, I trim them up, and then I'll set them in Bondo.
Do you lay plastic wrap underneath it?
No, I don't. It'll usually pop off and just pull it off there. Yep. Yep. Shortly after it kicks, you can pull it off there. It usually won't stick unless you do like some kind of alteration or something.
Right.
There's, like scratched up foam or something.
It's already got the mold release still on it.
Yeah.
It works pretty good if you catch the Bondo at the right time, it'll come right off.
Yep.
And hold its shape.
And I always like to groom as I go too. You can actually do a lot of your skin taxiing with a good brush too. Fits decent. So now I'm going to start cleaning up the face. Need quite a bit of it. So I always glue up my skull cap before I put any clay on top of the head. Like I don't care about all this stuff. The clay, I haven't had any issues with it lifting away from without glue being under it first, but the skull cap, it seems to want to lift off of if you don't glue it up first. So, and I don't mind about getting glue on my antler burrs either. It'll pop off as soon as that glue dries. I'd spend more time trying to clean it off than I would just wait until it dries and popping it off. of this stuff too, I'm kind of basing off of what the deer was like when I didn't get it in, or if they sent me pictures of it or whatever. So sometimes I'll make some of it up, but a lot of times I have a pretty good idea of what that deer was like when it came in. So I'm going to rebuild it to the best that I remember. Or if I got the pictures, I'll go off those. But as far as like all the character goes in all this area, the head I'm just putting back that tissue that goes there. And so for the side of the antler burrs, like this area is always a pain in the butt to get your skin in up under there, so I always leave that completely open there. I'm going to start my clay work right about there to lead up that antler ramp, right up along that bone. And I'm going to leave all this back here open so I can get my skin back there and back up to the antler burr. Because I always fight that spot, and that seemed to be the only thing that has helped me be able to get that skin where it's supposed to go. And two, whenever I prep this form, I shave a lot of this stuff away. I like to do all that stuff myself. I don't like it to be in foam. So I like building up the character of the eyes and everything with clay and everything else instead of having it set in foam for me. Especially too, if you're going to do like an eye rotation, you got to move those brows a certain way. You want to make sure that you're shaving away that foam and not just building all that stuff back out on top of it. You want to take something away, because what they've done is they've built all that tissue and stuff up. So it's just something to keep in mind too. Build up this little ridge. Not super heavy or nothing, because that's not a lot of meat right here on the very top of the head. Skin's thick up there. Sometimes when you're building stuff up like this, you're not just accounting for like the meat and stuff that was on your head. You're trying to make up some of the thickness of the skin that got shaved away when you did your tanning or when your tannery shaved it. I'm leaving just a little gap in between my antler and my clay here. That way I can work that skin down into that gap. And really, this is where I spend the majority of my time on when I'm mounting deer, is clay work. So this will be the boring part. I like doing it though, because you can do something different with each one. You don't have to just mount it straight out of the box. You can get each one character. Just put my clay right there, leaving that antler ramp open. Build up that muscle that's on the back of the head. I kind of like having some of that clay to press into also when I'm sewing up there. That way if I got like a little goofy spot in my seam or something, I can kind of press it down into the clay, soften it out. I'm going to start building up all the character stuff. And don't be afraid to use clay. I mean, I know a lot of people that are afraid to use it. Just because they're worried they're gonna screw something up. You can always smash it under the skin. You can easily get carried away with it too, but don't be afraid to try it.
That's what customer stuff is for.
Oh yeah, customer stuff's to try all your stuff.
That's correct.
Experiment with. I'm filling in that spot where I made that face a little bit longer. I chose to do it right there in that spot. It really doesn't matter where you lengthen it at, just as long as you can make it look proportionate afterwards.
Had you decided to make that longer like it was, would you have cut it in several places?
Yeah, I would have cut it again up here in the front. I mean, 8.5 inches is pretty ridiculously
yes.
long, so I was a little worried it was going to look stupid, especially when you got a deer
Agreed.
that's not
Yeah.
that big. So I figured I could cheat it a little bit height-wise too, because he did have a big block head, but it's definitely long.
What's the length that you're getting?
On the form is, I think I got it like right, just over 7 3/4 right now. So I'm definitely under what the skin measured, but I'm not too worried about it. Steer got a heavy face too, so I'll build all that stuff back up. I'm not worried about building over top of all that anatomy that's already there. And my nose too is a little bit, came off of a smaller deer, so I'll build some of this back up too. It's just reading the deer that you gotta work with. I've got a TV in my shop that I have like on all the time. I've got all my reference pictures on. I got a lot of big deer on the TV that I kind of base some of this stuff on too. It makes it pretty helpful when you're doing this kind of stuff. So you're not just completely making it up. You're looking at your pictures and stuff and trying to base it off of that. I mean, I've seen really big mature bucks with super slender faces, and I've seen others with big giant block heads. So I try and pay attention to those deer when they come in the shop and see what type they were. Some of them will have those big dewlaps, some of them will just have like a big low-hanging chin there, others got that Roman nose. I always put clay along my lip line too. This one I'm not going to do the dewlaps on, I'm just going to make his chin bigger down here.
Through the center?
Yeah, through the center. So that's what he looked like to me when he came in, based on the pictures I had of him, so.
Do you add clay like this to most of your deer?
Yeah, a lot of them, because I'm mounting a lot of big deer, so. Now those smaller ones that I get in, I mean, I usually won't add a ton of clay to them, but I will do a little bit like up in this area and stuff like that. But not near as drastic as like this one's probably gonna be. And two, the reason I like doing this with this kind of clay instead of critter clay, because it's a little bit squishier. So if I need to mash some of this stuff down under the skin, it's going to be a little bit easier to do without it being super lumpy and stuff.
Well, it looks way easier to smooth out now, too.
It is. It's like super easy to smooth out.
And what clay is that? I missed that.
It's whatever OTS sells, the Good Earth clay.
Good Earth clay?
Yep. It's just the cheaper
Yep.
grade clay. Yeah, that's why I like using this stuff for
Have you,
these types of things, because it does smooth out super easy.
Have you ever figured out what the shrinkage rate is on that compared to it?
I haven't tested it really, but I mean, I mounted my last competition piece with this stuff the same way, and it did just fine. I mean, I didn't have any issues out of it, so. Yeah, that last competition here I did, it was pretty well the whole head was out of play by the time I got done with it. I did my earbuds out of this too, on my last one. I try to be careful adding clay to the chin because they can get a little bit too big looking. Normally if I am going to put clay on the chin, I'll knock some of that foam off first and then build it out of clay. So I don't get too cool of a look, but this one I'm going to have to build up his muscles some too, so I'm not too worried about it. I probably could have just ordered like a bigger head and worked with that, but I've had this form laying around forever and I needed to use it, so. I don't get to mount too many uprights, so I never get to use them up, especially not big ones.
That's a good thing. They're horrible looking.
Yeah.
Had you not looked
Because
up.
when you got a big upright laying around, it's pretty hard to use. It seems like every time I do get an upright, it's one of my little ear that I gotta mount. Like I said, if this was a smaller deer, I wouldn't be doing near this much stuff to it. I figured I'd bring this one instead of a little one too, because it shows a little bit more out of the ordinary stuff, I guess. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
Just make sure we can get up there and look when you're done.
Oh yeah. Like I said, this is probably one of the longest parts of me mounting a deer, is doing my clay work.
So what areas of the face do you do clay on every single time?
Usually,
Like if it fits perfect?
I'll almost always add something to it. Even if it is a perfect fit, I'll add like a little extra dewlap on one side or something, a real small one or something, just so it has something out of it, that it's not out of the box. So, or I'll add just a tiny bit up here, or just a lip line a little bit. So even if it is a perfect fit and I can just mount it straight out of the box, I'll do something to it just to give it some character. I mean, it takes a lot of extra
But
time to
otherwise,
do that.
you clay the antler base and you build up around the nose a little bit.
What's that?
You do the antler base and then you build up around the nose a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I always put clay on my nose no matter what, just because I want to be able to press that nose pad down into something soft and not up against hard plastic. So after I get done, I always smooth everything out. You don't have to because you can do that under the skin with the glue and everything on it, but it makes me happier to do it.
Would you typically let that set for any amount of time before you rolled the glue on it? Just
Nope.
throw and go.
Yep. Because I'd rather have it a little bit softer so that if I got to mash it around in the skin, I can. As long as I know my skin's not like so tight or something, I'm going to mess it up when it's squishy like this. If I had one of those shorter incisions, I would be comfortable. then I'm gonna set my eyes. And I always drill out my eye sockets a little bit, depending on what the deer needs. This one felt pretty good, like his skull cap was nice and wide, so it fit this head well. If I got a head that's like, a skull cap that's too narrow for the head I'm putting it on, I'll take a wedge out of that head and I'll close it off a little bit, and then I'll drill out my eye sockets. That way I'm matching my eyes with my antler burrs a little bit better. But for this guy, it fit pretty well, so I just took a spade bit, knocked those eyes in a little bit, and then I'm going to be able to fill that with clay on my own instead of going off of what they already have there. And these eyes are nothing special. Yeah, you guys can come up and look at this before I set these eyes to it if you want.
Still a lot of clay out there.
It's quite better. I could probably go more with the bigger than that. Yeah. Hopefully.
Looks good already.
So I didn't have a great selection of eyes to choose from. So these are just regular dark, all brown eyes.
Oh, you don't know white from not white around there.
No, they're just all brown. They're pretty dark too. They're not even medium.
Why not cheaper? Easier.
That's what she had.
So I always put nicotine membranes on my customer deer too, and I just use electric tape for that, for customer work. I'm just gonna tear off a little strip, trim it, stick it on there.
Picture of that.
I do that now because when I go to do my finish work, I don't have to make one out of epoxy. And it's already in there. I don't gotta worry about nothing. It's already there. So when I do these, I just cut a strip off about like that. Find my pupil. Excuse me, it's hard to see. And if you look at your reference pictures, you'll see about what angle these lay at. So I'm just gonna take it. And the nice thing about the electric tape is it's stretchy. So I'm gonna stretch that across the eye like that.
Take a picture. You're gonna want that.
And then I'll trim it too, so.
Which one's your finish?
So then, once I get that stuck on in the angle I want it, I'll make two little cuts there, where I got like two little triangle flaps. I'll fold those back on the back side of the eye. Trim that off. So if you guys want to pass that one around while I do the other one, you can. Now, if I'm doing an eye rotation or something, I'll put that nicotine membrane on there, whatever angle I want it, on that eye that's showing the white in the front, and I'll pop that eye in there just so I can see where it's laying at, shine my light on the pupil, make sure that that's good. And then that's how I'll do like an eye rotation with this. But, I mean, this is pretty simple for doing this kind of stuff, customer stuff.
You said you use that method on the commercial, what do you use on your competition?
On competition deer, I will use the real nicotine membrane. So like when you tan your cape, just leave them on the skin, and then pull it out, thin that down, and just pop it on the eye just like that. A little bit of glue under it.
Does that tape ever peel off the glass?
I've never had it peel off. So you want to make sure that your eye is clean before
They're
it,
passing it around though.
so that you don't get stuck under it, and it
Just the
hasn't peeled up
nicotine
on it
membrane.
yet. Now, when you go to do your finish work,
It's just
cleaning
making
up
a
like your
nicotine membrane.
overspray and stuff like that on it, just be careful to not run your brush under it. It'll lift off the eye, but it sucks right back down. But, I mean, these are good, like, I use lacquer paints to paint with, and I haven't had them distort them in any way, so. But yeah, that's how I do the membrane.
You recommending that wide of electrical tape, or can it be skinny?
It can be the skinny stuff. I just had this in the shop, so that's what I use. And I can
Normally
get,
it's like maybe half of that.
right, yep. Yep, I got this. I don't know even where I got that from, but I've just been using it. And then too, like when you stick these on here, if you've got one side sticking out a little bit more than the other, when you go to do your finish work, you can always trim them. So scalpel will cut right through it and trim it easy, so.
That's a pretty good idea for commercial.
So when I'm leveling up my pupils, I level them from the side. And then from the front, they should look like they're just barely kicked up a tad. So, and you can see where that nicotine membrane's laying in there now, maybe you can see it. So when I go to tuck my skin and everything like that, it's already hammered in there.
I need to get a bottle of water.
Where did it go? Oh, that's fine.
It's maintaining about.
Yep. Whenever he's done with that one, we'll set the other one.
How many deer do you do a year? What year?
I took in 90 this year, so I cut it off with 75. I ended up with 90.
Yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all do that.
Why do we do that?
I don't know.
It's nice.
Yeah, I have a hard time saying no. Thank you. You done with the eye? Somebody else got it now? Or you guys are looking at that, I'll look at this.
Up there and take a picture.
I got my form.
You got what?
My form. My deer form.
Oh, from Joe already?
Yeah, because he's still here.
Is he thinking of leaving?
We'll see him back.
Okay. Well, as long as I get my bucket of glue, I mean, if I have to bring it in here, I'll just drive the truck over here. I don't know. He's all this stuff still here. Just want to make sure he doesn't leave before me.
What's that weigh?
Huh?
What's that 5 gallon bucket weigh?
A lot. For a motherfucker like me, it weighs a lot.
You're not old compared to me.
Isn't that cool?
I feel like it.
You look at that, bug?
You want a better look, Doug?
What?
You want a better look? Pretty simple, that's for sure. Anybody else want to see this one?
Yeah, like when you skin out the deer, the membrane is on the meat. Keep that on the skin when you skin it out. So yeah, you can lift it like off the eye. Do you know what the membrane is? So like this right here, is a little dark membrane right here, that lays across the top. Yep, just leave that to the skin. Skin out that here, that's part of the skin. But it's just on the yeah, it's really big.
3/4 of the way across the side. That's how much skin is down in there.
So that's what I'm trying to achieve with this right here.
It's a pretty cool little trick.
Yeah.
I've seen
A
other
lot of
people
people
do
do
it.
it, it's not a big deal. That's just what I use for competition gear, is the real ones. I'll practice with customer gear and use the real ones too, so I get used to it, but
Without putting a
for
mark
customer
in
gear, I
it,
just do this
like
tape.
a toothpick or something. Put it on beforehand. That makes total sense.
depth a little bit too. I got those about where I want them. Alright, so on my customer deer, I like to set my eyes on epoxy sculpt. I'll do clay over top for like the brow and stuff like that, but I like to use epoxy sculpt because it sets up quicker and I don't have to babysit the mount. On a competition deer, I would use critter clay where I'm going to use epoxy sculpt.
Because you gotta babysit it for
Because I got to babysit it.
days.
And even if I get it exactly where I want it with the epoxy on day 1, day 3, I'm probably going to hate it and want to change it. So now with epoxy, you got about, well, I don't know, 3 hours working time probably, and then it starts to get kind of hard to work with, but it's still not completely kicked. So I mean, really, you got plenty of time to work with this before it kicks off completely and you can't do anything with it. And the color doesn't matter. I have some white, so I had to use it up, so that's what I've been using. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is I'll put some in the carbuncle area, which is that little triangle in the front corner of the eye. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll try to stay out of the way. I'll let you look when I get this one done. So I put a little bit right there. And then I'm going to put a little bit over top of my preorbital gland. Just pinch out a little amount that look at. Now on a competition deer, I would do this the day before, just this right here, not all the rest of it, but just this part, and I would let it harden. Put a broke my good brush. And I use denatured alcohol to smooth out any epoxy work I do. It's a little bit nicer than the safety solvent. It doesn't quite eat away the epoxy as much, but it smooths it out really nice. So anything I'm doing, I'm smoothing it out. Because the softer it is underneath, the softer it's going to look on the outside, the better your finish work will be. So I start with my bottom lid. Yep. So I'm going to do my bottom lid first. Start it right up here. I'll try to stay out of the way. I'm just going to kind of follow that eye around. I'm making the back of the eye with that.
Yeah, I know it. It's fine over here.
Kind of feather that out a little bit. I usually tend to do more of an open eye, not quite relaxed, not quite alert, somewhere in between. I'm going to smooth that part out. I really like to smooth out that epoxy as I go because it might seem soft right now, but when it dries, you will see every little high and low. We're going to smooth it out. Do this one a little bit thinner because I'm pretty guilty of overbuilding sometimes. Start right there, get that high spot that they got right there in the front of their eye. I'm just trying to get it close. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect right now because I'm going to tuck and adjust some things. would be the part that's epoxy, then I'm gonna come out and smooth anywhere where I feathered out the epoxy. That way I don't gotta worry about any rough spots. And then I'm going to do this upper brow out of clay. And what this does for me, this is just something that I found that I like to do, is so tomorrow this epoxy is going to be hard and set up, but my clay is still going to be soft underneath. So what I can do is I can adjust my brow up here and keep this crease from shrinking when I adjust on it the next day. And that's all I'm going to do to it, is on day 2 I'm going to adjust some things, and then it goes up on the wall to dry, and then I don't touch it again until it's time for finish work. But this kind of helps with your shrinkage and stuff as far as that goes. This will all stay nice and tight where it goes, and you can still adjust all this around. So, and like I said, I shaved a lot of this away that was foam, so I could do this right here. So I could do this out of clay. So it looks like I'm going pretty heavy. It's because I shaved all that away. I'll smooth that out and do the other one. But I wanted to go on ahead and do this one all the way so you could look at it. So if you guys want to come up and look at that eye, you can.
Hey, they're forcing me to get a new one.
You're doing better than Todd.
Well, yeah, that's right. I had to flip it
Yeah.
all the time. I got tired of
For me it
the
has,
full
yeah.
keyboard. I
That seems to work
can
really
sit and
good.
manipulate. It's my eyes that don't work very good. I should have my glasses.
Yeah, right.
I put it in there.
Yeah. Now it seems to stay pretty good that way.
Trenton needs to get his old Android because he got paid last year and he still has his other one. So does that mean anything to you?
You're gonna learn. You tried to get Todd a smartphone?
I know I saw it. They threw it against
Yes,
the wall.
you did. Yes, you did. It did not go well.
No, it did not. It was like the fucking thing against the wall.
I threw it across his truck while he was driving.
Start on the second one now. So again, I'm going to start with that front corner, right where the car umbrella will be, and I'm going to have to kind of stand in the way a little bit on this one. not exact, like from one eye to the other, I don't worry too much about it because when I tuck this, I'm gonna brush it all out again, so I can adjust my shape after it's tucked too. So as long as I'm somewhat close, that's mainly all I'm going for. And I'll play it up. And then I can glue it up and mount this thing.
Did you do something for us when you get back? Before you do finish work on one, snap some pictures and send them to where, so we can put them on the MTA, so we can look at them, so we understand what you ended up with before you finished work?
Yep. I can do that. Guess I'll have to try not let it roll around on the floor on the way home.
And then, of course, a picture of the finished product, obviously.
I can do that too.
Do you need a reminder? Because I can send you a message.
I mean, I might, I'm not gonna lie.
What? Who are you?
It wouldn't hurt, I'll say that.
All right.
It's just a way of getting your phone number.
Oh, no, I'm a Facebook guy. Because
That's
I
what
can't
I use Messenger a
ever
lot.
remember what I said.
Yeah, that's how
So I can go
have
back
a
and look at the
message.
conversation, so I know what I said and what she said or whoever.
Yeah,
It's a great way for me to communicate with my customers because I have the trail.
yeah. Same here, I'd rather message them and talk to them that way, because if I talk to them on the phone, I don't remember
No.
any of it.
That's correct. It doesn't get any better as you get older either.
That's what Abel will get on me, I'll talk to somebody on the phone, well, what'd they say? I don't know. It was something important, but I don't remember.
That's right.
Alright, now I'll glue this thing up and we can start tucking some stuff. So if anyone wants to check anything else out.
Do it now.
So why did you epoxy the upper tier?
This right here?
Yes.
Because I feel like it does better with epoxy than clay as far as like shrinkage goes.
Okay.
So
Does it-
for me, it works better.
Help hold the skin in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because that epoxy will be set up later today. So I mean, once it's there, it's not going anywhere. The skin can only pull away from it.
Do you,
So-
after tucking and everything, do you press in the set?
Yep, so like I'll work that skin down around it. So like when I cut in my slot here too, I make sure to get that up and around so I can work that skin.
Right.
You know, this is a brand new bucket of glue and I got lumps all over it. I don't know how. It's must have been sitting there for a while.
Says manufacturer 622.
It shouldn't be that old. It's got big. Yeah, see that big grooves
It's
in it?
amazing, but when I drill through there with the thing on it.
Yeah, whip it right
Oh,
up.
damn, it's so nice and soft.
So I guess I need to do that when I get home. It's,
Mm.
The top stuff's nice and thin, but there's some clumps in it.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you have a ink beater on the drill? Soften it right up.
Yeah. So too, when I'm gluing this up, I try not to get glue too thick on my eyes because I can't stand mountain eyes when they're all soupy. when the skin is damp and the glue is really sloppy around it, it just makes a mess and you won't get a nice shape out of it. So I prefer to just do like a skim coat with my finger over the eyes. Anywhere there's clay, I want to make sure I get that glue good there, but I don't want to slop it out too bad. Roughly in place here.
A stout rubber you're using for texting?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never seen one like that one.
Oh,
Plastic, yeah.
is that a Matuska one?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you like that better than like a traditional high pool?
Yeah, I always stab myself with the other ones.
It's not fun.
No.
I don't even use the stop rougher as a stop rougher. I just use it for that.
Well, that's all I use mine for.
So
too.
right where
Just
the
move
ears are
skin
gonna go in
first,
place, I
right?
coat that with glue. I like to put a thick amount in there, that way it kind of suctions in there. Like I said, I'll have to fix a little bit of stuff right here where I smashed my clay when I put that tape on because my clay was still pretty squishy. But it's not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and tack them up here for now. Just get them up out of the way. Just gonna kind of roll that skin back. See if I smash the crap out of that one. I'm just gonna kind of pop it up in place. Don't have to be perfect right now, just want it up out of my way. I do try to get that skin worked up under so for that, I'm just going to taxi my skin up the back of my ear, get that little hair pattern lined up right there, and get that worked up under there. Now, these deer that have a little tighter pedicle to the base of the head, you might have to fidget it around a little bit. for days.
Do you ever build your butts and then take everything off like you did here? Put them in the freezer?
I have. I just kind of like doing it this way a little bit better. It seems like anytime I put them in the freezer and then pull them back out, they just seem to get worse on me, or I take too long and they're already thawed all the way out. So I just started doing this. Like I said, normally I would do my clay work the night before and put some glue over top of them and let them kind of dry out a little bit overnight, but that glue keeps it from cracking the clay. So. I left that spot open right there under the antler. So now I can get that skin to go down in there. Work that hair pattern around. I'll pin this one up. But I usually adjust on those ears kind of wide. I do have to groom them. So now I'm going to start working all this dude skin out of the way. You can tell that the skin is still quite a bit longer than the head that I have on here. You can see that it is, but I'll be able to make that work. I just got to taxi it around a little bit.
Piece of cake.
I just didn't want this thing to look like it was 10 miles long. When the antlers aren't fake, customers tend to notice other things on the deer. Like when this guy called me, he wanted to make for sure that I was going to be able to rebuild these in front of the eyes good, the pre-orbital glands, because he said he had really heavy ones like mule deer. It's like, well, I can do that.
Yeah, doesn't usually say that.
No, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
I've never
Can
heard
you
that.
rebuild my pre-orbital glands heavy like mule deer? Because he got heavy ones. Sure. I can do that.
Here, let me look up that receipt and make sure I put that on there. I do charge extra for that.
Yeah. Alright, so now I got things kind of roughed in. I'm going to go ahead and trim up the tucking skin. So on all my tucking skin, I like to find my corners. So like on the nose here, I'm going to cut my corner in. That way I'll have a top and a bottom. I'm just going to trim the top slightly, and the bottom I'm going to trim a little bit shorter. But I like to leave the top longer, so that way it wraps all the way up around my nostril wings in there. That way you don't have to seam that stuff in with epoxy. The bottom, I'm going to follow that dark transition line, right where the hair kind of stops growing at. That dark line is. I'm going to cut the bottom right along that. Just like that.
Do you cut it that short because you're using the artificial nose?
Yep.
That's correct.
Yeah, I like using the artificial noses on all my customer stuff because it saves me a lot of time on finished work and it already has a good shape to it. So for me, it's quicker than me trying to Dremel it out of foam and stuff like that. So that's just for me, that's my preference. I know that there's other people that are really good and quick at doing it with the foam, so whatever works for you. But for me, the replacement nose works better. And on my lips here, you can always find the corner of your lips. If you just pull kind of right there, you'll see that crease that creates the corner of the mouth. So top and bottom. Usually that papillite grows different directions there too. I like having my corner covered. I already got this somewhat trimmed up. So on this side, you can see where that corner's at. A lot of times they'll even have like a strong indention right there too, and you can find it that way, but usually you can see where they start growing this way and this way. That's your corner. My nose got a little dry on me. Normally I like to have the nose a little bit more wet than this, just because it doesn't get all those hard wrinkles in it. I like to tuck it when the nose is wet. Now for the eyes, something that I've done on these that helps me out, because I always struggled with everything bunching up here in this front corner. So what I do is, like, here's your tear ducts. This little hole and this little hole right here. You got one on the top and the bottom. And you can see your carbuncle right there is that little triangle dark piece of skin. So in between that tear duct and that one up there, I'll make those cuts. And now I've got a carbuncle all on its own, so I can tuck that by itself instead of all in one big chunk.
Just made it into a flat?
Yep, just made it into a flat. And before I tuck those, you guys can come look at it too, how I trimmed everything up.
Yeah, get good pictures of that too, will you?
If you wanted to, you could make it slit back corner too if you needed to. So this side will be a little bit easier to tell on because the other side I cut a hole. So your tear duct is that little hole there and that little hole there. This is actually your pre-orbital gland. These are your tear ducts up here. So you can see where it separates. So there's your top lid, your carbuncle, and your bottom lid. Now I have a separate flap. Tuck my carbuncle, my top lid, my bottom lid. Anyone else want to come look at it before I start tucking stuff? Anyone else?
What are you gonna tuck first?
I always start down here. Down at the nose and everything else.
I want to be able to watch you when you tuck in the eye and see how you do that little flap.
Yep.
So, that's definitely something new that I haven't thought of.
Yeah, because I always got everything all cram-packed in there and I couldn't shape it.
No, right.
I don't like to rebuild my carbuncle out of epoxy. I like to shape it with the
Underneath,
skin.
yeah. Shape it with the stuff that's underneath.
Yeah, underneath, not like putting epoxy on top of the skin.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's gonna help me tremendously.
So I'll take some of this extra glue that I got down here and I'm gonna glue up the nose skin here. I don't want to go too heavy with it because I don't want all that glue squeegeeing out onto my septum and getting that all gross. Just enough to kind of tack the skin. And on competition deer, you want to make sure you get your little whisker bump in there. Customer deer, I do it if I remember. I don't always do it.
Sometimes it's easier just to pluck that whisker.
Oh yeah.
They never even know it's there.
No, they don't know.
No, they don't have a clue.
That's something. What's that here for?
Yeah, that's a,
What did you put that there for?
nothing, but I like that whisker. That's going in my next competition. Thank you very much. That goes into the jar for save.
So that nose skin will get stretched out. I'm going to start right here with my front corners. And when I'm tucking that nose, I want to make sure that I don't have those white hairs sticking out past my fingers. So that'll tell you if you've got that nose skin just where it's supposed to go. As far as the top goes, I want to make sure that you're kind of halfway on the top of that nose. Just look at your reference pictures as far as that goes. That'll tell you exactly where that goes. You want to make sure your skin's not way too far up this way or way back this way. Just want to look at your pictures and see where that's supposed to go. Or pay attention when you get your deadheads in, it's kind of cold in there, and then you look at it.
All that stuff. You'll learn a tremendous amount.
So I'm just kind of getting this roughly into shape where I want it, because I'm going to stuff the inside of the nose with a plastic bag. And that'll hold things in place for me until I'm done. So usually I'll pull the stuff back out later, either the next day or that same evening, and check it and get it exactly where I want it.
So it's like half of a half, right?
That's how I said it, yes. A quarter of a bag, a half of a half. Goes in each side.
What, the handles?
No, I use half of a bag. I like it going all the way to the back, up and around, but I
Yeah.
cut way more skin than what you do.
Yeah.
And again, to each his own.
Yep, whatever works for
Yep,
you, that's all that matters. The end result is all that matters. So
Ding, ding, ding.
however you get there, don't matter.
No, you can learn something from everybody, no matter
Yep.
what their skill is. It could be as simple as a tool that they've modified that.
Yep. Yeah, that's something too, like this tool, this is an old airbrush needle that I filed down to look like a flathead screwdriver, and that's what I used to tuck my eyes with.
Yeah.
So I like having a small tool to tuck my eyes with. I seem to do a little bit better with it than I did when I was using like a big
Spatula or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, this nose is just kind of roughed in for now. I'll pull that stuff back out later and make sure things are lined up where they need to be. Do a lot of slack skin. Also, if you're getting any issues with your antler burrs, like wanting to pull away from your antlers, make sure that the skin isn't pulled all the way down like this. Sometimes that issue is only from that. Just taxing that skin up like that, and that'll relieve some of that. That can be one of the issues. It can be a lot of things, but that's one thing.
That's an easy way to cure it.
Yep, sometimes it's just working that skin up like that, and that relieves pressure from up there. Your eyes. So for this, on my lips, I always start at the front of my nose. Tuck that first. So I get that in place, and then I'll start working my lips. I'm going to find that corner that I made. Mark. Get it in place, and then I'll start working my skin in from there.
Did you remove any foam? What'd you cut your lip line with?
Dremel.
So you are taking the Dremel's width out of it?
Yep,
Okay.
just a small bit. I
Yep.
think it's a 1/16 or something like that, or 1/16. Yeah, because I can't stand fighting the lip slot. I want to be able to push that skin in nice and easy, not have to fight it. I know some people cut them in with just a knife blade. I can't do it, I've tried. I get too mad at it.
So how does the clay around mouth affect the tongue?
So as far as that goes, I like to have that clay around the mouth because I have that wider slot. So I've got all this extra clay here where I can work that down into the skin and make sure that that's pressed nice and tightly shut. So. And then with the bottom where I put it down there, that just helps me soften out the lip line so I don't get hard edges when it dries.
It takes a lot of work. But your dad wouldn't do that because he's so heavy-handed. He would have it turn because he's
So this bottom
so
lip
strong.
here, I'm gonna get it lined up. I really start with this black patch or whatever it is that grows right there in the middle of the chin. Make sure that that's lined up first, and then I line up my actual lip. But also you'll notice, I didn't show you, but on my lip, I don't have any tuck in the skin at all. It's just the lip right there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it up there where it goes, stack that skin, I'm going to tuck around it on both sides. And that's going to pinch that right there, and that, if that pulls at all, it's just going to be tiny. So that way I don't have to force all that tuck in the skin up and jam it into my nose either.
Right.
So then I'm going to come back around back here.
No, that's an easy one to do. Or not do.
And you'll notice that hair pattern that they got back there kind of makes that S curve. You want to make sure that you're putting that in the right place. It'll tell you if you over tuck it or you tuck it in the wrong spot, because it'll get all crazy on you. That's why I don't like getting it all sloppy. Yeah, and sometimes too, like if you're getting like puckering and stuff like that, you just gotta work that skin up and around. Sometimes you can go up towards the front of the muscle there. So just pay attention to that. Like if you're getting puckering and stuff back there, play around with the skin, move it up and down, figure out where it needs to go. It'll usually tell you. Now I'll start tucking lines. And I like to have my lines a lot more dry than this when I tuck them. They're so sloppy right now, it's hard to get a really nice shape, but we'll work with it. I like to try and press everything close in place before I start. I'll just take a tiny little ball here, like teeny tiny, on the end of my tool here. I'm going to stick that right back behind my carnival that I made. That's going to give me a little bit of a ball there to make that kind of round shape that that carnival has.
It just clicked.
It was the epoxy. Yep. First thing I do is try to pull that skin forward and get that carnival kind of roll around in place. So I'm just taking each corner of that tag that I made, tuck it back in there.
On the carnival
Yep.
tag itself?
Yep.
That's what you're talking about?
Yep, that flap that I made. And it doesn't have to be perfect yet. I'm just kind of tagging it back in there. I'm going to take my bottom lid, right where that tear duct is, that little tiny hole in the skin. That's where I'm going to start tucking at. So it's right about where your bottom lid starts. I'll tuck that first. I'll come back to the back corner here. Kind of tag that in place. Then I can just start slowly working that skin down along my eyelet.
You're not tucking at this point. You're
I'm
just working
starting
it to it?
Yep, I worked it to it, and now I'm going to start tucking it. I know it's hard to see, but I got to stand in front of it so I can see what I'm doing. I'm keeping my finger down here just so I can keep myself on track. I can keep that skin from moving too much, or I can work it up if I need it worked up. But that's why I like this fine little tool too. I can take little chunks at a time and work it into the epoxy. Alright, so now that I got that in place, I'm going to start working this upper lid. I'm going to find my front corner there, which is where I made that cut. And I can push that right up where it needs to be. So now I'm just going to barely press it up against my epoxy to where I can feel it with the tool. Now that I've got it all in place, I can start tucking it. And pay attention to the direction of your eyelashes too. If you start tucking this from the front back, all your lashes are going to be pointing straight backwards. If you tuck it from the back forward, your lashes are going to come around that eye like they should. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's cool to watch them go like that.
Yeah.
If you tuck it in the right direction, though, you'll actually watch them go like that.
Yep, we'll start to fan out. And even if you don't tuck it in the right direction, you can still fix that later. It's just easier if you do it that way from the start. So once the mount's dry, it'll already be kind of in place. Alright, so now that things are roughly in place, I can shape that car up a little bit better. Yep. Now, this is just roughed in. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to start softening everything up. So I like to tuck everything, rough it in, and I'm going to start brushing everything to make it soft. If you don't brush things out as you go, it's going to dry really harshly. And then your finish work is going to look rough too. If you got like a little finer brush, you can kind of get back there and brush that car off too.
You're brushing alcohol?
Yep, this is denatured alcohol. I like to use it because it will evaporate quicker. If you use water, it just saturates your skin more. This kind of just evaporates. You can even use lacquer if you want it. I just like the alcohol.
You don't have any problems with it pulling the epidermis off either?
No, not with this tan. Now, I've used like tannery tans and
Right. It's
anything
already
seems
gone to begin with
yeah.
most of the time. But
No, but I mean, you can sit here and rake your finger across this and dig at it and it won't come off. You'll tear a hole in the skin before you really rip that dermis off. Because when I first started using this tan, I was experimenting with that and seeing, you know, is it going to be like other stuff?
right.
Because I mean, you can still paint over that stuff, but I hate the way it looks
Agreed.
when it's all flaking off like that.
And then a piece flakes off when you're almost done.
Yeah. So.
Mike, did you touch that? Are you guys using any of that stuff? Is that, you think that's similar to what I have? It felt a lot like that.
Also too, I want to look up under the top here. If I can see that tucking skin up under there, then I don't have it tucked good enough. That lid should kind of sit right up against the eye, and you shouldn't be able to look up under there and see a gap or see your tucking skin. So I try to make sure that I got that pressed into place. And you can see that my eyelid crease is already wanting to start to form where that deer had a crease to begin with. So I'm going to kind of roll that skin down just a little bit. And now my eyelashes are going to be basically flat, but I'm going to tuck that crease in right where it wants to go, right in the skin.
Make sure you watch that when she gets to this side. Eyelid creases.
So he had heavy lids, but he was a big heavy buck. So
That had a tumor.
now I can hold up the top here with my
This will help
hand,
you.
and I can start to work this eyelid up into that crease. Remember, this is all epoxy and this is clay up here. So now, like on day 2, when I come back to this, this is all going to be 100% hardened, other than the skin itself. And this up here is all going to be soft. So the next day I can really make that crease stick together good so I don't have shrink. You know how when they dry and they'll pull apart real bad? That epoxy will help with that. And again, I'm checking to make sure that I got it pressed up where it needs to be. I'll get this pre-orbital gland tucked real quick and then you guys can come up and take a piece of this side. you guys can come up if you want, take a look at this. And I'll probably still be playing with these things the whole time, but
You got nice white hair on his eyes.
he does. He's got nice colors. We usually don't get deer this dark colors. They're usually really red.
Was that deer shot? I mean, it's so local deer to you. It's just such a great cape. Like I look at them like, man.
It's Indiana, but I mean, it's not close to us.
Gotcha. Was it bow? Gun?
No, it was a shotgun, I think.
So what is that?
It was
for you
gun
guys?
season.
When you guys do shotgun?
It's like right at smack in the rut, like November.
Yeah, first of November.
Yeah, like the second week of November, I think is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Well, normally our deer are all red, and this one's like a lot thicker hair. Our deer are usually a lot thinner hair. So this one is actually a pretty nice one. All the deer I was working on before here was pretty ugly. I was like, well, this is the only nice one I got to break.
like tick bitten, do they do too?
Yeah, really bad, like buzzed all the way up the neck and everything.
So what did you do? So we had a guy the other day. What did you call it? Where it was like,
it was bug.
what do you do when you get those bad rub marks?
Can't do nothing with it either. I always make sure and point it out to people so they know when to drop it off. Sometimes people don't notice it until they pick up the mouth.
It looks like somebody took a
Oh,
knife
yeah.
to it and cut it.
From the ears, scratching, trying to get ticks, and the ticks just get in there and ruin all the hairs.
So there's nothing you can do. Fake.
Like pink body.
They're good, but that hair, when it's broke like that, it seems to like catch every color and everything. So it usually ends up looking worse. Unless you got bald skin showing, like I think that it was just rug marks. Yeah, there's really not much I can do for it. I just always point it out to him and be like, look, he has this, so you know. And I usually take pictures of that.
What terrible it is. I don't know.
We get some pretty ugly ones.
Well, and I always say that's the deer you shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's character.
Yeah. I just like to point it out to him because I don't want him to think that it's something I did.
Well, that's what it looked like. It looked like somebody took a scalpel and just, yeah.
So I had somebody bring a deer in one time and they drug it. I don't know how they drug it. They must have drug it for a mile down the road or something. It was sticking all over the place and they told me that I gave it a haircut. That's when they got a bachelor's room. I was like, no, I brushed the hair. So they thought I gave it a haircut. So I always point stuff out.
Yeah. What's it? No. It's right.
Alright, so
No,
same
I
thing on
can't.
this side. I put that little tiny BB in there for the car.
I just have a mouth.
And get things somewhat replaced here. Start out with my car ruffle. I try to get that kind of tucked in there slightly. I'm going to start with my bottom lid here. Get that in place and try to the back here. Get that in place. And then I can start tucking the skin. I like to do the front and the back because that way I get that skin stretched out evenly and I'm not just tucking it and I end up with like a puckered spot or a wrinkle somewhere. So those little sharp wrinkles are hard to get out of my eyes. Get all that freaking skin cooled down. Alright, I don't want to go away for this side. tuck it any other way.
But now, new ones even small.
The side's always harder for me to do.
Unbanded 950, the pre-rotated 1050.
Your right side dominant?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It is. Yeah, people like that.
Yeah.
I was going to this side first, though, and that one last. So
I'm right-handed for me.
like a machine ends, and that's what I do.
I don't necessarily have to set one or the other, or, you know, play it up one or the other, but I always have one eye that was better than the other.
Well, seeing that sometimes that's a justification too. I'll do the easy one first because if they're coming from a tannery, they're all ripped up. Yeah, they're just horrible. I don't care what tannery it is. Every one that I've used there, their stuff is just junk. I hate working on it
Well, don't you do your own, don't you?
most of the time. But there's times when I can't keep up with them, so I just cut them up, throw them in the freezer, take them to K and let them do their thing. You know, they're okay. But the back corners of the eyes are missing. The nostril skin's all gone because I'm letting them turn the flesh.
If I just, I know a little bit. Yeah, just enough to kind of.
When we went out to do that thing for Doug's Outhouse, two deer that I did before.
Really capes themselves.
Yeah, the pre-orbital and everything was gone. Like there's a whole herd
Yeah,
there.
I heard there was some
I'm like,
stuff
what
going
are
on.
you do with this?
Just do the best you
Okay,
can.
that's all I did, you know. I think I ended up with toxin underneath it. But yeah, there were holes. You don't want to create more work for yourself.
It's just it. With all the time that I still have here dealing with a commercial tan, I might as well just tan it myself. And I have the same amount of time because I don't have issues to fix. And I love my tan. So that deer, you know, I took it from the field. I was with him. I wasn't in the blind when he shot that, but I get him right up at the ranch. I just get him off right at the ranch, so it's all him and by me. I take on me off and I'll turn him.
Yeah, so you know it's going to be a good specimen.
That's correct. I got the pick. I did the cream of the crop, that's for sure. That was one. That guy, he didn't know what he wanted. Why don't you just let me do something with this one?
Yeah.
Let me do what I want to do with it.
Yeah, I took a nice picture of it.
It just helps he was already blind. And we got a picture of him alive 2 days before they shot him. So that helped too. It's a little blurry because it was a little bit of a distance, but the blind eye, it was really lazy. You can see it in the picture. So I recreated the lazy look on that eye. The eyelashes are really closed because he doesn't think he has to close it because everything's dark to him.
Yeah, I've got one coming up. Blind eye. Same eye too. Left
I
side.
figure so. Well, he had some blind eyes. Did you got some?
I
Joe's
had-
selling blind eyes.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up getting one. I went over to Tom's house.
Oh,
I didn't. I was just over there talking to him. I was talking to Samantha, talking about trouble getting eyes and stuff. So I gotta get a blind one. So he had.
Working on stuff.
those pads, it's highly acceptable.
You don't want it sticking out past you.
Because there's pictures, there's so many pictures, sometimes they suck it all the way, and sometimes it's a big bubble gum, but within the realm of acceptability, with every judge it's called starfish, make it the same.
Yeah, like that bottom lip. Yeah. Yeah, like all the tuckings get the whole tuck out. So it's just.
Right?
Talking my tires.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Everything. I got,
So yeah, these are just kind of roughed in right now. And then I'll start sewing them up, and then I come back to everything and start like pressing stuff in, taxing, skin around, and stuff like that. So right now I'm just sewing them up. But it's great. Right here. So yeah, I mean sometimes too like this. Straight over like that, but if your reference on lighter color is more. Yeah, like this dude had that. He had that right here. I kind of like that. Gives that big
It's almost like it's skin is thicker. So when you're shaking it, you actually feel that it's a bit.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, I think it's probably for rubbing and biting a little bit, you build up scar tissue there. And you notice like when the hair gets back thicker and more coarse, like scars. I think that's one part that I like.
They're building up a callus.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
Is that a sewing from the bottom?
Yes, I do so from the bottom up. Hair side on one.
Whitmer roll, it's all the same, you just do this. That's I told him you were in the lead. But that was 2 hours ago.
Oh. I beat him a lot in the shop.
He said everything in your shop doesn't know. So, and he always uses. So he didn't admit that.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear that from me. I don't want to get on his bad side.
So do you do a lot of smallmouth fishing around here?
North. Yeah. You want to find smallmouth without traveling north.
Yeah, we usually go up to up by Traverse every year.
Yep. Right.
Smallmouth fishing. Catch a lot there. We have a canoe, so we're always going somewhere near.
She's smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller. I just wondering.
Like the smaller one, there's no roller blocks on it.
What part of Michigan?
There's some untouched fish.
Only thing you know about Flint is you don't drink the water. There's nothing else you can do.
It's a good size. It's a half hour. So if you look here on this one,
It gives you a wide cut.
Start going down to more slanted. We get traffic on that.
going on their side, on this side, and this side.
100, cover, keep covering. Seems done that way.
Yeah, because there's like a stand.
I could have retired this.
Now, the first few times I used it, our water.
Thin is good, but don't use the shaver. You're dealing with a lot of issues if you're the way you're used. You want to take the time to do it yourself. My shoulder hurts so bad I hate being on the machine.
Yeah, I'm a little different. I shave it from the front. So instead of leaning over it, I shave it from the
Tell me that. This sticks right here on me. I like looking at this side of the blade. Most of the guys. It doesn't matter how it gets done. It just needs to get done. As long as the outcome's the same. Guys like Franklin Price.
You both doing a great job.
And then he did it blindfolded.
Oh,
Why would you even show somebody that? You can have somebody that has no experience trying to do it blindfolded and cut his damn hand off. But everybody's 10 foot tall and bulletproof on Facebook.
So show me your deer.
I'm not too specific about what it's going to be. It's whatever was on my fishing pole and needs to be switched out.
Monofilament or whatever, right?
Well, I use gray.
Yeah.
I like using gray.
Put all the stuff on the table.
Yeah.
Something like that. Imagine
Those things are pretty. Yeah. They're pretty. I do too. Well, I mean, if you want to grab a fork or somewhere, it doesn't matter. Show you how to and an ear line.
Just text your just to get
So is it like pulling away from your burr as it dries? Yeah. So like what I did there is I got that clay, pushed all the way up around it, and got glue up there. Basically, you're kind of touching it, and then you smash that clay over top of the skin. That seems really pretty good. Now if I get some trinkets, I can use a tiny bit right here, right there. But it's not much. Yeah, but as far as like up here goes, like once I sew this up all the way, I'll tuck that into that slot I left, and then smash that clay up around it. That way I can get that skin in there. See where this one's at? Yep, and it'll come in Yep. And then on this one, I start from the bottom. Yep, and then I'll tie it all together. Yeah. What's that? It's just regular fishing wire. It's braided, and I think this stuff might be 15. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't really like anything over 30. The smaller diameter, the better, really.
You got it on your hard drive.
Yep.
Give it on your chest.
The seminar started.
Air side. I don't know what it's called. It's basically just kind of a stick.
Yeah, that's a different stitch. So the baseball stick would go under from one side and then go under from the other side. So it's kind of like a figure. And it really all depends.
Yeah, I mean, just practice with it. For me, this is just what's worked the best. I've tried lots of different kinds. Yeah, this is just kind of what I always go back to.
I bought some from her. I got some kid that's helping shop my truck.
Yeah, I've tried that too, and I still.
I've got like 4 totes full of them.
Like I said, I always end up going right back.
I like looking at them, but when they're put away, you don't ever get them out. If I'm moving, I always start, then I get sidetracked. I start looking through all the pictures. All right, I got to put the shit away. All right, I got enough of them. I got a whole bunch of them. Holy cow. Sure, just take them. I can't remember how many I had. I sat on the living room, I had them spread all over my living room carpet. And like, holy shit, I had some of them, but some of them I didn't. Like, I got issue breakthrough all the way back to 20. I can't find any before that. But I got stuff from that, you know, like the old ones from the 60s, or where they used to draw an illustration of how to sew a deer, you know. I got 3 pieces of deer animals in the shop now. The lady gave me 2 of them brand new from Van Dyke's, and then one I tore up a deer gun. It was the 40s, I think he said. I just put their tape on it, but red resin, paper mannequin. I haven't seen that. Yeah. This guy went, "You repaint my walleye?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Be careful taking it down. It's heavy, old guy." Fucking fall flat. I was like, "Yeah." I thought he was dead. No, it's a big walleye. No, it's almost too heavy. It's solid plastic. I cleaned a mountain when it was killed in Washington, and it was like 25 or 35 degrees. Freaking orange from smoke. Yeah, smoked the pipe and shit. And it was delicate, so I'm like, I did a freaking owl. It was killed in the 40s when you could shoot an owl. It had a squirrel in his hands. And it was hanging in the bar for freaking 40 years, I guess. They're like, "Can you clean them?" Like, yeah, back then, the guy shot it actually had that squirrel in his hands. And he shot the owl, not the squirrel too. So, but the squirrel was missing hands, so I made little hands for it. And cleaning it the best I could. Huge ass, man. I'm glad they didn't have an option. Control. That's what I bought new shit. I bought what stuff these guys. When I die, I'm always sitting there looking all back to see. I got a meeting. I'm like, I'm not really using it. Even if it's over there, I'll chop it up. Put on things on. I'll do some shit.
And they'll just hold that. This is the best one.
Yeah, you got a little less than me.
Well, at least it wasn't as far as up north.
It was actually easy to get up to 99 promo. Yeah, 94
We
to.
had that deer powering, that was...
Oh yeah, that was a long day. I was whooped when I got home from that.
Get over that.
The Legends ran the I was exhausted when I got home from that, but I mounted 2 deer after lunch. So. Oh, really? I was debating a while ago. I'm like, you know what? I need some motivation. This worth the drive. Kids be similar. I mean, people that didn't come to stop. There's some good stuff. It's almost like going to a competition. You know?
Yeah.
It sucks that like she's got one on and he's got one on. I want to watch the box like I'm too. You can only sit through so many.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him.
I'm trying to get away from doing it fair.
Right on the border.
I was at my job 19 and a half years and I drive truck for 3 months out of the summer and I work in my taxi shop for the rest of the year.
She did. I shouted with her a few times going through.
I never know what tomorrow brings me. I was at my desk. They wanted to cut my pay $6 an hour to drive truck. Dude, I started to pull my truck up. Hey, you know, freaking what? I said, you see a truck driver not before. I said, well, I go to Chicago. They sent our computer guy up there in a box truck. I found the box truck on. Freaking loading and stuff. So I'm like, you gotta have some sense. I've been driving since I was 20. I was like, I'm not taking a pay cut. I mean, my buddy's like, I'm not going to drive for us. It's not a pay cut, but we can go out all the time. You don't want to work, you don't come in. Bust ass and 78 hours a week for 3 months. This is my 4th year. I'm making a living. I'm going to the house. This is It's scary quitting the job. Well, you could retire. My house paid off this next year. My I do too. I got to explain my husband's taking me to the factory. You meet the right customers, you don't have to worry about it. I got one with Texas, it was $29 This guy paid for all the little ones. I'm on the zebras and eagles and oryx and that. I'm like, I'm shooting some $5. I shot 4 pigs. And he goes, I would have bought you a black over a buffalo. I'm like, I'm going to go buy a black one. We had 100 yards twice. My buddy was in the there. We doubled on pigs that night. 1, 2, 3, the third shot we hit. We got 3 big close shot or pig. Then I stabbed one. But the skinner's ruined the pig. We'll get you a new cage. I'm like, it ain't the same. It ain't a deer cage. Oh, that was so that was fun. She almost got her. You better do it while you can. We had 2 guys in our shop. One was 25. When they turned 60, the day of their birthday, they paid them. I'm like, that's cool. Somebody put in 2,500 because they didn't want to do something. Like one dude, he moved to Florida and barely survived. The other guy died 2 years later. And I'm like, you know what? After she showed me the I talked about this all the time. Ages ago, we never really raised it. Like, you just gotta go. So you tuck that skin up in the epoxy then?
On the antlers?
No, like here.
Yeah.
I look at pictures all day long. I got reference pictures posted everywhere. Sometimes I get it where I like them, and I'm like, I had 4 deer days and then I looked at the little sharp one.
Otherwise, the city's like showing up and paying money.
What's that? Yeah, I'm from down yeah, you take 23 back south and get on 94 and then west. Jump on 51. It's, I looked up the thing, I'm like, oh, that's easy to go to. Usually you're traveling up north, you go to all backwoods shit. We went up to Legends, man, that was a trip getting up there. I can't remember the town. We went up there and mounted all those deer for our old friend that died. I prepped one. I got there a little late. Everybody's already started work. I prepped the skin. They go, all right, it's lunchtime. I'm like, well, hell, I need to mount my first deer yet. So we go to Legends Ranch. They give us a tour of their museums. There's 5 people's mounts from around the world. They're getting ready to add on 10,000 square feet, he said. And you go in this game thing, there's deer running around everywhere. There's freaking sheds all over the place. And their museum is unreal. Their chef cooked us a catered lunch, which was probably the best lunch I ever ate. Then we go back, mount that deer up. Then I cooked another cake and mounted that deer up. And I was done by 6. I'm like, now I'm tired, I gotta go home. It was fun time. But Doug, he was a member for a long time. I still got some cash notes he gave me from some little animals and shit. I was like, I don't even know if I can use them now because he made them. problem. You could paint the ground. I never seen him put that much clay on, but it made a difference.
Yeah. Yep, he needed a lot of it, that's for sure. He probably could use more of it, honestly. He's got wrinkles all over it. Yeah.
Leave them right here.
You tan your own skins?
Yeah, we do. Anything that we mount, we take.
Tan the Lewis once. I said I'd never do that again.
Yeah, I don't know if we tan that. We might have to send that.
I said, I don't care if it costs $5. I'm not doing that again. That's like a stick. What was it?
I've tanned elk and stuff.
Yeah, I can tan some deer. I just sent some buffaloes off and got back. I just debated whether to do them. They're like, well, we got to degrease them. The forehead was probably an inch thick. I'm like, oh.
Pretty hairy, pretty missed.
Yeah, should flush them to paint the blood. I flushed that moose deer.
It takes them months to.
I got a Canadian moose in, 45 inch with a drop height. I was out there from 6 o'clock to 4 in the morning. Working flushing that stupid pig. Because their nose is like carved. It's the weirdest thing to work with. I don't do a lot of them.
Sometimes it would go away a little bit. I was
that way on the
first
moose nose.
everything up to right here.
That's just, it's not a deer nose.
We did one for Huntable Lifetime, and Gene Roll had a cast nose on the one. That was nice when we put it together. Yeah, I did like 4 or 5 animals for Huntable Lifetime. Then I get the kids on stage money, so I didn't deal with this for a girl. She was lost away. Then there was another kid. He was 20. He survived cancer. But I got him up there. And
He went down a good road, didn't he?
Dreams do come true.
Yeah.
it was awful. And one kid we did all 4.
I didn't drag it. I didn't do that.
He was. I said, what?
But that girl was a little mad.
No, I didn't know. Just
This is what we're doing. That's all.
I should let you use it as a cake.
Really hard to try it.
Well, sometimes like when you pull this over, it gets that big air bubble. Like I'll pull this up and work that for a while.
At 2 years old.
Back down.
Guilt, she's probably feeling.
Oh.
And then too, sometimes you just gotta work this skin back up.
Yeah.
Yep, because usually when we pull everything down, it creates big air bubbles. Just because you're overstretching the skin further down the past. But yeah, sometimes it's just working it up just like that.
Yeah, it just drives it home just a little bit closer when you know.
Yeah. So you don't see that?
Yep, just glue it.
I've done it when I run out of state.
Yeah.
It holds it.
Yeah, hold it.
I know. Why do they do that? It's only
Excuse me? Are you getting your ears? Oh, go ahead.
I got some stipulated. Actually got points on them. They're not as bad. They still. Because my air compressor broke and I had to be too cheap to buy another one. I had to use my air compressor. I had to get the old T50 out. And these things won't even go to the plywood. So half the time the I'll trim it just. Girl, gonna show you a blue ribbon. I love the clay work. It's like, damn, that thing looks good without fur on it. But I see it being soft.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get too harsh with my stuff.
Soft hands.
Yeah. Kurt Andrew told always when I started, he's like, keep it simple, stupid. I'm like, I'm stupid for it. He's like, think about it.
Your husband was trying to beat you.
Is he done?
He's not done.
Nah, I win.
He's still messing with it. It's pretty close, though.
You can go tell him I'm done too.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
I got a snail, I got a toad, I got a big toad, and I got another frog.
Well, that's fine. So look at a live deer and get one in, those are kind of nipples.
Put that on my wall.
There you go.
My sister got some damn.
Too bad you couldn't have your hands on
You can always learn, doesn't matter.
Don't make a store, but oh, I need some cross. I'm honest.
Everybody's got problems with their stuff, so nobody's perfect. Yep.
When I lived in Florida when I was a kid, I used to catch them all the time, and one of them had little babies, they're like this big.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy. Hey, you guys didn't make a store?
From between here and the room, the drill bit fell out.
I'm guessing anyway.
I got a 6-pointer down in the basement, it's all like this.
She's got a strange scary stuff. You'll post pictures of what got murdered, and all the bad shit. Hey, there's some of
I'm supposed to take that cord. Not yet. I'm supposed to take that cord.
Man, I've never seen anybody use electrical tool like that. Well, it's smart. It's smart. Well, yeah.
Quick and simple. Yeah.
Yeah, that works, cheap, quick.
Customer will never know it's there, but it makes me feel better.
You know, I've said that all along. A lot of times the client has no idea all the work that you put into it, but you know you did.
I see their after.
What are you looking for?
I like how you took up the skin. You said the eye and nose is really long.
Yeah.
I drop shit that falls under my feet, I can't find it.
Yep, not right in the middle.
Okay. You usually have come in right about here.
Yeah.
And then another one here.
Yep.
I'm gonna extend that.
Yeah, but if I wanted to make it longer, I would have made another one right back to my foot line.
You found it.
That's due to some, I mean, cut through the wood line and extend it. So, how do you get them off?
Make that more.
I like to do it in clay.
And you gotta extend it.
Anything in foam seems to
You
be
don't want to
hard
just
to
do it
do.
one time, you want to do it twice.
I build mine in clay.
Yep.
Sometimes it's over.
Well, I mean, I try not to overbuild anything as far as the muscle, because I mean, even on a summer deer, those muscles are super soft. They don't look chiseled in or anything like that. It's gonna look super soft. So I like to do stuff like that. Like I might get a rough shape on myself.
You might see it, but not accentuate